Now we're going to start on the arms and legs. I mean, we have the doll to this point. The upper arms are done. Magnet in the chest. Crotches in place. Now we need to do the lower arms and the whole leg. So we're starting with the leg, the thigh, because it's just like the upper arm. If you haven't marked it, you need to mark pretty much the same things as what you marked on the leg. I poked through the pattern. This dot needs to be pretty large. This is where you're going to attach the teddy bear joint. There's a dart here on this side. Didn't come out very well. There's a dart here on this side that we have to sew in first. This dot in the middle is going to be the same thing. We're going to end up transferring it to the edge because it's going to come up. We'll be putting the seams together just as we did with the arm. We're going to be doing it with the leg. These are this is the openings on the side for the stuffing. So again, you should have 4 of these. So you're going to mark 2. I separate them into 2 groups of 2, so I have a right and a left. And so I'll mark this one the same way. And then I'll flip them both over and mark the other side. Flip the pattern as well. And first thing I'm going to do with these is pin the dart and then sew it. So find the point, find the ends, put a pin there. There's only 1 dart in these. Point, ends, and there's 4 of these to be sewn. Now, you'll notice there are no darts on the lower arm or the lower legs. So you don't have to worry about those. So I'm going to sew these darts and then come back. Okay, so now we have four thighs. Okay, so we're going to put two of them right sides together. And pin them. Again, you'll have to kind of cup this end here so that you match the notches at the top of them, these notches at the top, and you can match the darts at the side, and all, you know, the tops and bottoms. And so what you're going to be sewing here, once you have them pinned, is just the same as what you sewed on the arm. You're going to sew this little piece at the bottom straight down, and you're going to start at this dot and sew all the way around to the bottom on this side. This little piece here, then this, because this is the opening, above the opening all the way around the top to the bottom. You are not sewing across the bottom, and you're not sewing this opening. So once you have your two legs pinned, you just sew around, leaving those two openings. So I'm going to sew those. Okay, pins out. Now you're going to have to clip the curve up here. Okay, so clipping the curve. Like about a half an inch apart, quarter inch, whatever you want. And you just need to do around the top here from this dart to this opposite side. That's the only curved part on this. And again, you don't go all the way to the threads. You stop a little bit before them. 1/16 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch. Okay. Now, you're going to turn this right side out. Oh no, excuse me. We have to sew the bottom. So we're going to do that the same way as we did the other one. We're turning the other direction, putting side seams together and pinning this. Now again, we want points, which means it's going to have to come up in the middle and down at the side. But notice the point on this one is much higher than on the arm. You have more of a bend in the knee. So you want to mark that point. And again, you're going to come down to the sides. So this is where the sides are going to be, wherever your seam allowance is. So you want to make a curved line coming down pretty sharply in the center to that edge. If you can see this on the camera. So here's your point in the middle, same as equal with the point on the edge, and it's going to just curve up to the edge on both sides. You want a big point here in the center. You're going to do that with the other one as well. And then that gets sewed, and then we turn it. So again, you're going to match your side seams. I like to open them so that seam allowance is evenly distributed across the seam. Also, when I clip it, then I'll clip right down through that sewn part there. And I'll put a pin on both sides of that center. Now here's the dot at the side, so I'm going to move that dot to the middle. And come it's hard to draw over your pins, but you can do it. Don't try to make this too wide. Try to come down further and then out. Don't try to go it straight out at an angle to it. Make sure you have a curve in here. All right, so now I'm going to sew these and then clip this. That's where the seam is, so it'll be easy to clip. Just make sure you don't clip so far up. This is the opening here. You don't want to clip all the way up into the opening. And then we can turn it. Okay, the bottom's sewn. Get rid of these threads. And I'm going to clip this opening. Now remember, you don't want to clip it all the way up into this area. So I'm going to start just below the dot. And I'm clipping along the part that I sewed before. And just, I want to take some of this extra fabric out of here. So that now you have that. You want to turn this right side out and double check this. Okay, so come on here. There you go. Okay, so you can see I have 2 points here. There's a little bit of puckering in there. That's because of this coming down into a point here. But once it's stuffed, that'll disappear. So you have the 2 points, and they're at right angles to your leg, which is what you want. So let me do this one. And again, we're not stuffing it yet. Why not? Because we have to put the teddy bear joint in it. Then we can stuff it. Getting rid of some of this extra fabric too helps it won't pucker so much up there in the corner. All right, so now turn it right side out. Okay, again, I have the 2 points at the bottom and it's at right angles to the seams. So now, laying your doll down, you want these are in the back, and so it doesn't matter which one is on which side. It doesn't at this point, but it will after this. So you can put this one on this side or this one on this side or vice versa, it doesn't matter. But once you punch the holes, it's going to matter. Because there's a hole on this side and there's a hole on this side. You want the inside hole on both of these. Once you punch, you're not going through both of them, you're just going through one, just like you did with the arm. So the first thing I'm going to do is punch the hole through the crotch. Now, where's my crotch pattern piece here somewhere? See, there is a hole in the crotch. I did not mark it, but or if I marked it, it got lost. So there's the crotch point. So I'm going to come through this with my awl. And remember, there's plastic in there. And I'm going to have to make this a little bit bigger too, because again, we have to get the teddy bear joint through the whole thing. Let me get one joint here. We only need one joint for this. We're going to attach both legs to the crotch with just one joint. All right, so now you're going to lay your doll down. You need to have one teddy bear joint. Make sure your back is to the back. All right, so you're going to poke a hole through the crotch at the place marked. You'll probably have to enlarge the hole quite a bit. Remember, this has to go through that hole. So if it's not big enough, you're going to have to just cut it a little bit. Because there's plastic in here, it's not going to be as easy. You'll have to cut a little bit more maybe than just the fabric, because fabric gives, but that plastic isn't going to. So I have a hole punch. Even still, I think that's too small. but I think this is big enough now. If I can get the end of my scissors through there, I'm probably going to be able to get this through. There. I think that's going to be okay. All right, now, again, with your legs, you want to do the inside, the inside hole. So go through your back and find that point, that dot, and poke your hole. Put the head of your joint through there, find the hole, and then again, just enlarge it enough that you can get through this. Okay. All right, so now that's one. Now this is going to go through the shaft in the middle. Still not, I thought I had it hard enough, but it's not quite there yet. Try that again. Alright. The shaft in the middle. Now it has to go through this side. Now make sure you poke the right side. This is, here's the back. So I want this hole so that it can go here. So and again, I'm going to clip just a couple of threads to make that a little bit bigger. And push that down over this shaft, shank, whatever you want to call it, on the inside. Okay, so now see, it's, I don't know if you can see it or not, it's popped through. So I have it now through this one layer of this, both the whole crotch, and one layer of this leg. And now I have to put the head on it. Now, if you don't have a tool like this, you can get, I got these from Joann's. You see they have a nice hole in them. They just have one hole. And that's about the right size. You just need to be able to, something that the shaft can go up into this hole while it pushes down on the outside of that. So if you can't get a good grip and you don't have one of these, or you can't get one of these, or you find they're too expensive, try a little wooden bead like that. All right, so now I'm going to put this as flat as I can so I can get the top started. Because my body's stuff is going to be tricky. Again, maybe I should have done this before stuffing the body. But you know, you really want to get to stuffing. You want to see what your doll's going to look like, but a little bit more preparedness. Is that the right word? I'm going to try to put this over the edge of the table so she's flatter. I Okay, so I can get more of a grip on this. All right, there you go. Okay, so now I need to pull the cloth out. And so now what I have are the two legs stuck to the crotch here. And I'm going to go back in and look at this and make sure now that I pulled the cloth out that it's as tight as it can go. And it is. So now I'm ready to stuff the legs. And I'll do that exactly the way as I did the arms, and then just sew up the back. Put some small pieces down here in the points. And then continue stuffing the legs. Come up here and put some in the top and work down and work up, doesn't matter. I can put all of this in the leg at the same time, but I notice I break it into small pieces so that it will spread around in there and it's not just a wad of one huge piece. I mentioned this before, but you don't have to put them in one little piece at a time, but you do have to break them up into small pieces. And again, you don't need the stick for this part. You can use your fingers. There's no small spaces, except for the points. There's no small spaces in this. A bag of stuffing like this is more than enough. You could probably get $2 or $3 out of this. I'm almost finished stuffing this doll, and I've got more than half of a bag to get. I can still put a little bit more stuffing in there, but I'm going to go ahead and do the other leg and put a little bit more in before I sew it. I always get a few good pieces down in the bottom corners. Always stuff as tight as you can. Again, it's going to loosen up. As the doll gets moved around, played with, repositioned, whatever, it's going to loosen. Don't stuff it so it's distorted, but stuff it well. So I have the legs pretty well stuffed. I may put a little bit more in as I close it, because there seems to be a little hollow here in the middle. And now, I'm going to just whip stitch this closed. And my doll now has the ability to sit. All right. Now, we're ready for the lower legs and lower arms. Again, you want to mark, there should be four hands, like lower arms, and 2 of this kind of leg, and 2 of this kind of leg. And again, you want to mark the openings. The only thing on these that you need to mark are the openings. And then you're going to separate them. One is a right and one is a left. And again, one is a right and one is a left. And you're going to put them together and totally ignore the toe, because we're not going to sew there anyway at this point in time. And you're going to pin around it and leave the opening open. So, in other words, should be a notch on the side that you match up. So on this foot, on this leg, you're going to sew from this dot, following the back of the leg around the heel to the toe, to here. You're going to go from this notch all the way around the top, down the side, across the ankle to the toe. You're leaving this open and the toes open. And you'll do that to both legs. At this point, they are neither right nor left. Well, actually they are. So in this case, see, this is on this side. So you also want this one. If this is on the top here, this needs to be on the top here, so that they are mirror images of each other. Otherwise, you're going to have your big toes in the wrong places. On one foot it'll be right, on the other foot it'll be where the small toe is instead of the big one. So make sure they're mirror images of each other. And again, you're not sewing across the toes yet. That'll get sewn next, just like we did with the the points on the thighs and the shoulders on the body and the points on the arms. The toes are going to get sewn the other direction. Okay. All right, so that's that. Now with the arms, you can do this at the same. Again, you're going to have two arms, a right and a left. So there should be 4 pieces. So lay them out. You have a right and left, and you're going to mark them. All they need is the dots. Now, the other thing that I do mark on these is down here where the fingers are, I mark this point where the thumb comes in. I also mark these 3 dots where each of the fingers comes in. And I'll do that on both of them. So we have dots here and here, and we also have dots here. And then you're going to flip these over and do the same thing. Opening and dots. And opening and dots. All right, and again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew all the way around the outside, totally around the outside, just leaving this open. So I'm going to go around the top, down here. I'm going to come into that thumb point, come back down here. I'll be following the edge, not these dots. I'll be following the edge of this, and back up to this dot. So put one down here in the hand. So I'm going to sew all of these and then come back. Okay, and all right, so have these sewn around the edges, and if you can see, I did not go in for the fingers here. I'll do that after I turn it. But I've just sewn following the contour of the hand and the arm. This one I sewed, the toe is still open. This one, the only part that's open is this piece on the side. This one, the toe is open, and this side here is open. Now we need to do the same thing we did before, and that is pull this put the seams together across the toes here, line up the 2 seams, and you see it makes like a slanted line. That's so that you have a big toe here to small toe, going down to small toes, just like you do on a normal foot. And I'm going to push the seam allowance open to both sides, just so that it's kind of uniform width across there, and this is going to get sewn straight across the toes. And I'll do the same with this one. Just pull it apart and match up the two seams. Put the seam allowance to both sides. And I'm going to pin that, and then I'm going to sew those across. So, see how it is here. So it's just sewn across the top. I mean, it's just pinned with the seam in the middle, and again, they'll be at right angles to the foot. Sew this. Okay, so cut these extra threads off, and now you can turn it right side out. And oh, before you do that, you need to clip the ankle here, this corner at the ankle, and you need to clip around the heel. Okay, so I clipped the ankle here, the heel, and around the top. I'll do that with this one too. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it right side out. And you are going to probably need the stick for this, unless you've got very small fingers, to get your finger all the way down into those toes. Okay, so I've got it turned. Now I'm just going to go in here and poke it a little bit to make sure I've got my big toe sticking out there and small toes. So you see I have a big toe up to small toes, nice ankle, and okay. So I'm going to do the same with the other one. Okay, so again, you have a right and a left foot. And your big toe is always on the inside of your, is on the inside. So you need to have the big toes on the inside. So this is the way it would line up with your doll body, this way. Now, as long as we have it, we're going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to mark, you have 5 toes, which means there's going to be 4 lines here. There's going to be the big toe, which is going to be wider than the others, and the little toe, which is going to be the narrowest. And there should be 2 more lines. So halfway, somewhere between those, I'm going to mark 2 more lines. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to draw them back a little bit. Your toes tend to get from big to small. The lines get big, smaller. So kind of like that. And I'll do that with this foot too. Big toe, little toe, and some toes in between. Alright, so kind of like that. Now I'm going to put a little bit of stuffing in there, but just a very little stuffing, and only in the toes. I have to put a magnet in this foot, but I need to do the toes first. So right now I'm just doing toes. So I'm going to put a little bit of stuffing, shove it down into those toes, and flatten them. And I'm going to put a pin across just to keep the stuffing in there so it doesn't move up in the foot as I'm going to go sew across these lines. And again, these lines are made with this pen will come out. So I just need a little bit of stuffing. It should be about the same amount for both feet. And shove that into the bottom. part of this toe here is not all the way out yet. There it is. Okay. All right, so all the way in to the toes, all the toes, and then put a pin across them. I'm going to stop these for a minute because I'm going to sew these when I sew the hands, the fingers. Might as well do both at the same time because they're both done exactly the same way, almost. Except for that turning of the foot there. Okay, so I'm going to turn the hand right side out. I think the hand is harder to turn than the foot, just because it's smaller. Okay, now it's the top of the hand. Now I gotta get the hand itself. That's the arm I got. Now I gotta get the hand. And yes, you can run the stick down in there and poke at it, but I find that has a tendency to make it ball up more. Sometimes I'll poke it a little bit, but not so hard that it knots up in there, and then pull on it a little more and poke it a little more, and just keep pulling and poking till you get it to turn all the way out. Oh, I did not, wait a minute, before we get all the way in here, I didn't clip curves on this one. I don't see that that's going to be a problem here at the top, but it will be down at the hand. Alright, so let me turn this back. Okay. Alright, let's do this again. So we're going to So we're going to do the hand because it goes the same way as the foot, so we must, I'm going to clip here where the thumb is into that, but not all the way, and clip around the curved areas here. Clip the wrist. Around the top. And Clip the wrist on this side. This is mostly straight till you get to the end of the fingers. And I'll clip here too. And let me clip this one before I forget it. Wrist, top, wrist, and the rest I have. Okay, so now let's try and turn it right side out. Top of the arm should be easy, the hand will be the tricky part. Poke a little, pull a little. Don't poke a lot. You have to just can only poke a little bit at a time, or it'll kind of knot up in there. And then pull a little bit more, and poke a little more. This will be a little bit harder than your foot because it's smaller. However, you can do it. Okay. Need my thumb to come out here. Need something, not the awl, maybe maybe the point of a pen. Let me try this. Something that can go down in there but not poke a hole through it. Yeah, that works really well. This I got from Dollar Tree. It's has a little 2 different size balls on the end. The balls are mostly, it's like they use it a lot for putting dots of paint on things. They can also be used for other things, but okay. Get all these fingers out here. All right, so now I have my end. My fingers, you notice, are not, they're not individual, but my thumb is. And I need to push this, the curved part up here, that part. All right. I'm going to do the same with the other hand.
I've used forceps for things like this. What are they? They're also called, what are they? Tweezers, hemostats, small pliers, needle nose pliers. You just got to be careful that you're working with fabric and that you don't tear it. Okay, so there's my hand. So I have two hands, and one will be a right, one will be a left. At this point, it doesn't matter which is which. So now I need to draw the fingers on them.